Hey, Southern Male here. Crossed you up. No intro or nothing on it. This one's I'm answering some of the comments that I got in on this Redneck Woman video. Some of them pretty interesting. A lot of the Southern boys that chimed in out there just said, "Yep, been there, done that." They understand. A lot of the comments came from an urban side. And one of the things that I didn't go all that deeply into their particular story, but this couple had been married for 9 years. 9 years. Where my friend had worked with her grandfather for probably about 5 of those years until he got too sick to do it anymore. And he kind of threw in the towel on him. He didn't have the dream to go back to Atlanta. That was his fallback position. Okay? He was failing at the life that he dreamed of and that he wanted to do. He just didn't have the skill set for it. Now, that's what it boils down to. He just didn't have the skill set. So it was a matter of educating him and getting him up to speed on his skill set that probably saved their marriage, to be quite honest with you. But, you know, one of the comments that was made was the fact that he wasn't responsible for taking care of her. He had gotten before a preacher and gave her vows on her wedding day. And nobody held a gun to his head. And down here, that carries weight, especially with a man. All right? Yes, indeed, he was responsible for taking care of his woman, period, in the quotation. Matter of fact, there's got a lot of guys get their butts whipped down here over the actions of their women. Because down here, we still believe that you control your household, period. And if your woman is out of control and disrespecting people, they're not going to smack her down, they're going to come for you. Because you don't have any control over your woman. That's the way it works. So, now, he was out of control. And yes, he was responsible for the woman. He made wedding vows to her. And down here, we still expect people to live up to their vows. If they're not willing to do that, then they just need to call it quits and go on about their business. But he turned out all right, and I took some schooling, but he did okay, and he's turned out to be a pretty good man. Matter of fact, it wasn't that long ago, they had me come up to the town I work in, as a matter of fact, to meet them for dinner. They said they wanted to buy me dinner as a thank you. And so when I went up there, I found out that I guess they'd had a little conversation a while before, a few weeks before that, a month or so, I guess, where he felt like a hired hand on the farm because he had no ownership of it. And he had learned. He told her, he said, I want to sell the place and buy something that we share in. And this is her family farm. I kind of rolled my eyes, thought, Lord, they were up here filing divorce papers. But no, she asked him to let her think on it for a day or so. And next morning, he was getting ready to go out to work. The sun was coming up, and she said, we stood out in the front of the house there, and she looked out over the place. And she said, I asked him a simple question. Is it the farm itself you don't want? Or is it you don't feel enough of a part of it? And he told her it was he didn't feel like it was his. And she told me, she said, I looked him right in the eye and said, okay, she said, let me ask you another question. As a man, will you give me your word that you will stand behind the vows you made me on our wedding day? He told her, yeah. He said, in every way. And she said, all right, I'm going to call the attorney. And she says, why don't we have the place redeeded to both of us? And to where you are the owner of the property. But he told me you could knock me down with a feather. I said, you can knock me down with a feather right now. I said, because if that girl turning over any ownership of that farm shocks the snot out of me. And she says, no, he's been a heck of a man. And she said, we're happy. And if that's bothering him, she says, I want to fix it. She says, I don't plan to go anywhere. And she says, so, there it is. So they went down to the attorney and got these paperwork done up. And they were up there in the town And that's the reason they had me come up meet them for dinner, because they were up there picking up the final records from the attorney's office of where everything had been filed and put through. And they said it was a thank you dinner for working with him and trying to keep their family together. I was really thrilled about that. But this girl had put him on as a joint tenant, where they were joint owners of that farm. And, that could have went really bad, because that girl, that's a family farm to her. That was home. But turned out she stood out real well, and she says it's what he said at the lawyer's office. She said, it about broke my heart. And I said, what's that? And she says, when I asked him again in front of the lawyer, she said, in front of this witness, will you give me your word as a man that you're going to uphold those vows, those wedding vows you gave me? And he told her, well, I've thought about that, and I sure can't. And she said, man, I was about ready to kill him, at that point. She said, I shot him a look. And he says, because those wedding vows says I'll keep myself only to you and cherish you until death do us part. And he said, I can't guarantee you that. He said, I'll probably keep those vows until I'm dead. He said, and if you should die first, he said, I'll still be keeping those vows. And I just looked at him. I said, what are you doing, son? Trying to get laid? I said, that's a heck of a line, man. And she goes, oh, he's going to get it. So it was like, that's too much information, girl. But, yeah, very happy couple. But he took on a lifestyle that he wasn't prepared for. He didn't have the skill set for it. He didn't have the knowledge for. This boy was raised up in a single-parent household, and he didn't know how to be a man. And these rural country women, these redneck girls, they're a handful, man. And they're looking for somebody to step up and be the man of the house and take charge of that family. And if you don't know how to be a man, you're going to fail with them. If you're not a good provider and stuff, and willing to work your tush off to make sure that they do well, it's not going to be a good situation for you. Do these girls not have the traits of other city women? Yeah, they have the exact same traits, the same human nature of all other women. The only difference is what and how they apply it. Their hypergamy is different. What they desire is different. Now, will they dump a man who doesn't provide those things to her? You bet. If she gets the feeling you can't take care of her when things really go bad, you're gonna be in trouble with her. Same as with any other woman, but it's not money. And the one thing you boys are missing, it is indeed the love of the land. If you look around this country, agricultural workers, farmers, okay, a lot of them are carrying full-time jobs as well as working that farm. Why? Because prices are off. Expenses are up. But they'll do whatever they have to do to keep that farm functioning. It's not about making money, gentlemen. It's about the lifestyle and the love of the land and how close you are to nature. It is an entirely different scenario than what you find in the cities. And I've lived both places, so I do understand. I grew up rural, but I also spent a lot of time in the cities. And I can tell you there is a world of difference between the two. But it is the love of the land, folks. Understand that. And I know it's hard to do if you've never been in that situation. But it truly is. You will do what you have to do to make that work and to stay on that land. And that's the way those women feel too. They will do what they have to do. And living that kind of lifestyle means you got roles. You truly have roles. And a woman has her place and a man has his. And if the woman doesn't live up to hers, it's going to cause problems. And if the man doesn't live up to his role, it's going to cause problems. See what I'm saying? I'm trying to show you with some of this stuff is that there is a difference out there. Now, am I saying run down here and marry yourself a redneck girl? Man, that's going to be on you, okay? Because let me tell you something. If you haven't, if you're not a good man, an honest man, a hard-working man, a stout boy who can defend her and take care of her, no, I'd say absolutely not. Okay, it's a tough life, and I'm not saying you have to be a muscle-bound mountain to do it, but it takes a lot out of you. So keep that in mind, but don't ever think for 30 seconds that it isn't the love of nature and the love of land that has people doing this, because that is exactly what it is. Okay, it's a love affair with the land. I got to be honest with you. I would rather spend time with my cattle than most human beings. Seriously. I understand them better. They live by their true nature, and they're loving, caring animals. They truly are. People think cattle are dumb, but actually they're probably the next smartest creature on planet Earth is humans. You can take one of these cows and raise it up in a calf on a farm, take it away for years, bring it back, and that cow will remember every path, where it leads to, where's the food, where's the water, just like it never left. Years later. They got a heck of a memory, a little like an elephant. But anyway, that's it, guys. Turned out real good for him. And now he's half owners in that farm, and think about it for a minute. Would your city girls turn that over to him? I really doubt it. So think about it a little bit. It is a love of the land. I know you probably don't understand that, but that's really what it is. So I thought I'd throw that out there. I also want to tell you about a little girl that I had a conversation with here about a week or so ago. I used to work with her. 19-year-old girl by the name of Reagan, just got out of high school. And yeah, she's talking about it's getting about time for her to get married. And her brother died in Iraq, so she's a year of her father's farm. And she was talking about that, and that her dad had introduced her to a boy that he thought the world of, and she was going to go out on a date with him. And so I was teasing with her a little bit. I said, well, Reagan, girl, she was talking about all the traits he had and what assets he had. And I said, do you realize what you're bringing to the table? And she said, sure I do. And I said, what's that? And she said, well, one of the things I bring to the table, she said, I'm a virgin. My mama and grandma both told me that if I want to have a marriage that lasts, I go into it as a virgin. And she said, so I've got that. She's second thing I bring to the table, she says, is me. She said, I've been taught my entire life that I am to take care of my man and make myself available to him. She says, so that's something else that I bring to the table. She flatly said that her grandparents and her mother had taught her that she never refuses her husband unless she's really ill. And then she hopes that, explain it to him so he understands. She said, so I bring myself to the table. She says, the third thing I bring to the table, she says, is I bear children. And she says, here in this kind of lifestyle, children are important. They're your security in your old age. She says, you hope one of them stays on the farm and takes care of you. She says, and then of course the fourth thing is I care for that house. I take care of things. She says, I keep the house for my husband, and I raise my children. I told her, by golly, girl, go home and kiss your mama on the cheek. She did a great job. Yeah, she kind of smiled and said, yeah, I'll do that for you. She said, listen, my grandmother got married at 17. My mother got married at 18. She's now 19. She's so kicking it up a year every generation. She said, but that's two of the happiest women you'd ever want to meet. She says, just full of love and life. She said, that's the kind of woman I want to be. She said, I've seen these feminists. I want no part of it. She said, they're just miserable broads. You see, down here in the rural South, they're still training some of their daughters to be wives and mothers. You don't see much of that going on in the city. Take care, guys.